My cousin stole every guy I dated until I brought a convict to Thanksgiving. Vanessa had taken them all, Marcus, David, even Trevor. Every holiday ended the same, her flirting, me crying. But Michael? He had 7 years in prison, zero tolerance for games, and a recorder in his pocket the night she tried to destroy him. Hi, I'm Claire, I'm 32, and my cousin Vanessa has seduced, yes, seduced, every single guy I've ever brought to a family holiday. I'm not exaggerating. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, even the 4th of July. Let me paint the picture. I grew up in Michigan, where all my extended family lives within a 20-mile radius. That means mandatory attendance at every family gathering, or you risk being cut from Grandma Helen's will. I wish I was kidding. Vanessa is 2 years younger than me, and she's been the undisputed golden child since birth. Blonde, green-eyed, genetically blessed in every way. She shows up to Thanksgiving dinner looking like she's about to walk a runway. And me? I show up hoping not to have a panic attack by the mashed potatoes. The first time she stole someone from me, I was 23. His name was Marcus, graphic designer, quiet, sweet, genuinely seemed into me. He insisted on coming to Thanksgiving to meet the family. Said he was serious about us. I believed him. Cut to my Aunt Diane's house, turkey on the table, kids running around, and Vanessa walking in wearing a red dress so tight I'm convinced it had to be painted on. My mom saw her and just gave me that look. That brace yourself. Look. Marcus and I were talking on the couch when Vanessa wedged herself between us like we were a human sandwich. Her leg pressed up against his, she started with the arm touches, the flirty laughs, the leaning forward so he could peek down her dress. Right in front of me. Like I didn't even exist. Later, I caught them in the kitchen. She had her hand on his chest. When they saw me, Vanessa smiled and said, I was just telling Marcus how lucky he is to have you. 3 weeks later, Marcus broke up with me. Said he needed space. I found out 2 months later they were at a bar together. His arm was around her waist. And that, unfortunately, became the pattern. Ryan, the teacher. David, the accountant. James, Tyler, Christopher. Same script. Different guy. She'd flirt, scheme, and take. And my family? They excused it. Don't bring men around if you can't handle a little competition, my aunt said. My aunt. My mom told me Vanessa didn't mean anything by it. And Grandma? She said maybe I should try being more feminine. Yeah. Thanks for the support. I stopped bringing anyone to family events. Told them I was focusing on my career. The truth? I was dating. I just refused to give Vanessa any more targets. But then, I met Trevor. And for once, I thought I'd finally found someone Vanessa couldn't ruin. Trevor was a doctor. Smart, funny, handsome in this rugged, nerdy way that made me melt. He opened doors, remembered little details I told him, made me feel seen in a way I didn't know I was craving. 8 months in, we were solid. And naturally, he wanted to meet my family. I delayed. Dodged. Blamed scheduling conflicts and non-existent work emergencies. Finally, with Christmas approaching, I cracked. I sat him down and gave him the full Vanessa warning. The history, the tactics, the red dress at Thanksgiving, the leg-pressing couch maneuvers. All of it. Trevor laughed. Said, Claire, I'm a grown man. I'm not going to let your cousin seduce me at a Christmas party. Then he kissed my hand and said, I love you. Stop worrying. So I did what all stupid, hopeful women do in the second act of a disaster story. I believed him. Christmas Eve. We pulled up to my parents' house. My stomach was a fist. Trevor looked calm, beautiful even, in a blue sweater and jeans. I clung to his arm like a life raft. Vanessa was already there, of course. Wearing a white sweater dress so tight it looked like it had been spray-painted on. Her hair was in perfect waves, makeup flawless. When she saw Trevor, her eyes lit up like she just won a luxury car on The Price is Right. You must be Trevor, she said, gliding over like a predator in Louboutin heels. I've heard so much about you. Claire is so lucky. She hugged him. It lasted just a little too long. But Trevor kept his arm around me, kissed my temple, whispered something sweet. I started to exhale. Maybe this time would be different. Oh, sweet summer child. Vanessa spent the entire night circling us like a hyena in a push-up bra. She laughed at Trevor's jokes, asked him for doctor advice about her mom's knee surgery. She spilled wine on herself and asked Trevor to help clean it up. "You're a doctor," she giggled. "You must be good at stains." Trevor hesitated, looked at me, then followed her into the kitchen. 15 minutes passed. When they returned, Vanessa's dress was fine, and Trevor looked flushed. I barely made it through dessert. We left early. In the car, I cried while Trevor drove in silence. He swore nothing happened. Swore he loved me. Said Vanessa was just being friendly. 2 months later, we broke up. Trevor said he needed to focus on his residency. I saw him in March at a restaurant, arm around a tall blonde. Not Vanessa, but honestly, it didn't matter. That was my last straw. I stopped going to family events altogether. I told them I was busy. I ghosted every invitation, dodged every call. I was done playing the Vanessa Olympics. Until one day, I signed up to volunteer at the library. They had this literacy program that matched volunteers with inmates learning to read and write. And that's how I met Michael. Through letters. From prison. And for the first time in years, I started to feel something like peace. Michael's first letter was short. Polite. Said he was 34, serving the last 2 years of a 7-year sentence for armed robbery. Said he was trying to improve his writing before he got out. I wasn't expecting much. I mean, I signed up to help someone read, not to spill my entire personal history. But something about his honesty got to me. So I wrote back. I told him about my job as a project manager, about the cold winters in Michigan, about hiking. Just surface-level stuff. His next letter was longer. He told me about growing up in Detroit, getting caught up with the wrong crowd, and how prison forced him to take a long, brutal look at himself. He talked about books he was reading. He asked questions. His writing wasn't perfect, but it was real. We kept writing. Once a week. Then twice. Then every other day. I told him about Vanessa. About Trevor. About every guy she'd stolen. About how I stopped dating because it just wasn't worth it anymore. I braced myself for him to say something cliché like, "You just need to be more confident." Or, "Don't let her get to you." But he didn't. He said, "Your cousin sounds like someone who only feels valuable when she's making someone else feel small. That's not about you. That's about her." I actually cried when I read that. For 8 months, Michael's letters were my lifeline. They were funny, thoughtful, brutally honest. No ego. No games. Just connection. He talked about his anger management classes, his plan to work in construction when he got out, maybe go to community college. He told me about his aunt in Grand Rapids who was saving a room for him. Then one day, his letter ended with a question. "I get out in 2 months. Want to grab coffee? Totally understand if you say no." I stared at it for 20 minutes. Then I wrote back. "Yes." Don't ask me why I said yes. Curiosity? Loneliness? Or maybe I just wanted to see what a man would look like who hadn't been poisoned by Vanessa. We met at a small coffee shop downtown. I was early. He walked in and I recognized him immediately. Tall, quiet confidence, nervous smile. Broad shoulders. He looked different than anyone I'd ever dated. Not polished. Just real. We talked for 3 hours. I couldn't believe how easy it was. We went out again. And again. Movies. Walks along the river. Diner breakfasts. He met me with zero pretense, zero performative charm. He didn't try to impress me. He just was. I didn't know what to call it. It didn't feel like dating. It felt like building something brick by brick. Then November rolled around. Thanksgiving. And for the first time in a long time, my mom called. She wanted me home. Said the family missed me. Said even Grandma Helen was asking about me. I was ready to say no, but Michael was lying next to me in bed, reading. I told him about the invite. About Vanessa. About what she always does. He listened. Then said, "Take me." I laughed. He didn't. He said, "Claire, I did 7 years in prison. I think I can handle your cousin." I stared at him. And then I said, "Okay. Let's go to Thanksgiving. And this time, let's see who really wins." Thanksgiving morning, I woke up with a pit the size of Lake Michigan in my stomach. Michael? Calm as ever. Just buttoned up a blue shirt, ran a comb through his hair, gave me a kiss, and said, "You ready to watch me disappoint your entire family?" I laughed harder than I had in weeks. He looked normal. Not threatening. Not rough around the edges. Just clean-cut, kind-eyed, and quietly confident in a way no man I'd ever brought home had been. As we pulled up to my parents' house, I gave him one last warning. "She's going to flirt. She's going to try to get you alone. Please just stay with me, okay?" Michael took my hand. "Claire, I'm not going anywhere. Promise." We walked in, and everything was exactly as I remembered. The smell of turkey and starch. Kids yelling. My uncle already 2 beers deep trying to fix the broken TV remote. My mom hugged me like I was a soldier returning from war. My dad shook Michael's hand and immediately launched into a monologue about the new deck he built that summer. Then, like a cartoon villain in stilettos, she appeared. Vanessa. She was wearing a black dress that looked like it had been cut with surgical precision to maximize cleavage and minimize dignity. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair had that casual, "I spent $300 on this blowout" bounce. She looked like she was about to present an award on live television, not eat mashed potatoes with her cousins. Her eyes locked on Michael like a missile acquiring a target. "You must be Michael," she purred, holding out her hand with a slow smile. "I'm Vanessa. Claire's cousin. I've heard absolutely nothing about you." She squeezed his hand a moment too long. Michael just smiled. "Nice to meet you." She tilted her head and gave me this faux sweet look. "How long have you two been together?" "A couple months," I said before Michael added, "We met through a pen pal program." "Oh," Vanessa cooed. "One of those online things?" "That's adorable." Michael nodded unbothered. "Something like that." And then the games began. Vanessa stuck to us like glitter on carpet. Asked Michael about his job in construction. Leaned in when he spoke. Laughed like a banshee at his jokes. Touched his arm every time he opened his mouth. Suggested he help her bring in chairs from the garage. Michael's response? "I think your dad can handle it." And then he placed his hand on the small of my back and led me into the dining room. I was in actual shock. Dinner was more of the same. Vanessa sat across from us, lobbing conversation grenades, trying to steer the table talk toward anything that made her look fun and irresistible. She laughed loudest at her own stories. She asked Michael about sports, music, movies. He gave polite, one-word answers and spent most of the meal talking to my grandma about her stuffing recipe. Under the table, he held my hand the entire time. After dinner, the usual shuffle into the living room happened. Vanessa made her move. I watched her corner Michael by the drink table. Heart in my throat. This was always when it happened, when she'd finally get the guy alone and do her whispering siren routine. I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw her place a hand on his chest. Michael stepped back. Said something low. Then turned, walked away from her, and sat down next to me on the couch like it was nothing. Vanessa stood frozen by the drink table, looking like she'd just been ghosted by the sun. My mom leaned in and whispered, "I like this one." I nearly burst into tears. We stayed another hour. Michael talked to my uncle about fishing. Played cards with my cousin's kids. Acted like Vanessa was just another person in the room. When we got in the car, I finally asked, "What did she say to you by the drink table?" He was quiet for a second. Then he said, "She told me you were damaged and insecure and that I could do better. She gave me her number." My stomach dropped. "And what did you say?" Michael looked at me and said, "I told her I wasn't interested. That she should probably work on being a better person before she tries to ruin anyone else's life." And that was the moment I knew. This wasn't just different. This was real. I cried the whole way home. Not the dramatic, mascara-running sobs you see in movies. Just silent, ugly crying. Like something deep in me had finally unclenched after years of being wound too tight. Michael didn't say a word. He just pulled over halfway, leaned across the seat, and held me while I let it all out. When I finally pulled myself together, I asked, "Why? Why didn't you fall for it? Every guy has. She's beautiful, she's charming, she knows exactly what to say." Michael looked at me like I'd just asked him why the sky was blue. "Claire," he said, "I spent 7 years in prison. I learned real quick how to spot people who are full of garbage. Your cousin? She's miserable. You can see it in her eyes. She's not happy. She's not confident. She's desperate. And desperate people are boring." Then he paused and added, "Plus, I'm in love with you. Why would I want someone like her when I have you?" That was the moment I knew I was done looking over my shoulder. That he was different. Real. Safe. But of course, nothing in my life can just stay quiet for 5 minutes. A week later, my mom called. Vanessa had come over crying. Apparently, she'd done a deep dive on Michael. Dug into his background. Found the old news articles. His arrest record. The mugshot. She told my mom she felt unsafe. Said I was reckless for bringing an ex-convict to Thanksgiving without warning anyone. Claimed she was just trying to protect the family. My mom repeated every word like it was gospel. "Claire, your father is very upset. Grandma's worried. Vanessa's traumatized." I hung up on her mid-sentence. Over the next few days, the texts rolled in like a swarm of guilt locusts. My aunt told me I was selfish. My cousin Jessica said I needed to think about how others felt. My uncle said Michael was probably dangerous, no matter how he acted. Only one message felt like oxygen. It was from my younger brother. "Vanessa is a drama queen. Michael seems cool." Michael felt awful. He said maybe he should have warned me about his record, told me to prepare them. That he didn't want me getting dragged into his past. I told him this wasn't his fault. Vanessa was just doing what she always did, twisting everything so she could be the victim again. We skipped Christmas. Spent it at Michael's aunt's house. She made ham and mashed potatoes and asked 0 passive-aggressive questions about our relationship. It was the best holiday I'd had in a decade. Then, in January, I got a call from Jessica. She said she needed to talk. In person. "It's about Vanessa," she said. "And you're not going to like it." We met at a coffee shop. She ordered a latte and just stared at it, like she needed courage in foam form. "Vanessa's been seeing a therapist," she said finally. "It started last year when she was having panic attacks. The therapist diagnosed her with something, some kind of insecurity disorder, I think. I don't remember the name. But the therapist told her she needed to apologize to you. To take accountability." I just stared. Jessica continued. "Vanessa refused. Said you were the problem. That you were bitter. Jealous. But after Thanksgiving, something shifted." I blinked. "What do you mean?" Jessica looked down. "She's obsessed with Michael. She can't stop talking about him. She stalked his old Facebook. Found his ex messaged her. She printed out the articles about his arrest and showed them to Grandma." My stomach turned to ice. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," Jessica said, voice trembling, "Vanessa's talking about filing a report. She wants to tell the police that Michael made her feel unsafe at Thanksgiving. That he was inappropriate. That he threatened her." I felt the air leave the room. "She's trying to get him sent back," Jessica whispered. "And I couldn't let her do that without warning you." Everything inside me went still. I called Michael the moment I left the cafe. He listened quietly. Then said, "I knew something like this might happen. People don't like when ex-cons try to move on. But we have to stop her." I said. "There's nothing to stop," he replied. "I didn't do anything. If she files a false report, it'll get thrown out. But it'll still be on your record." Michael sighed. "Yeah. Probably." I didn't sleep that night. Then the next morning, Michael handed me his phone. "I recorded our conversation," he said. "What?" At Thanksgiving. By the drink table. I recorded the whole thing. Just in case. He hit play. Vanessa's voice came through crystal clear. Claire is damaged and insecure. You could do so much better. Here's my number. Michael's voice steady. I'm not interested. You should probably work on being a better person before you try to ruin anyone else's life. Vanessa, bitter. Wow. You're just like her. Judgmental and boring. The recording ended. If she lies, Michael said, we prove it. And for the first time, I was the one who smiled. Let her try. 3 weeks went by. No police. No complaints. No calls from my mom demanding I defend Michael's honor to the family council. Just silence. I started to think maybe Jessica was wrong. Maybe Vanessa had finally hit her limit. Maybe, just maybe, the war was over. Then my mom called. Vanessa had been in a minor car accident. Nothing serious. Just shaken up. She was at the hospital. She wants to see you, my mom said. She asked for you? I blinked. Why? She said she wants to talk. Claire, she's upset. You need to be the bigger person. I didn't say anything. You can't just abandon your family forever, she added. And there it was, the guilt grenade. So I went. Not because I wanted to see Vanessa, but because I wanted to know, what could she possibly want now? She was in a private hospital room, propped up in bed, a small bandage on her forehead like it was decorative. When she saw me, her eyes welled up. I didn't think you'd come, she said. I almost didn't. She nodded. Looked down at her lap. I need to tell you something. I didn't respond. I've been really messed up, she said quietly. Like for years. My therapist says I use male attention to feel valuable. That it's a coping mechanism from trauma I haven't dealt with. I stayed frozen. That doesn't excuse anything I've done, she said quickly, tears starting. Not to you. Not to the guys you dated. Not to Michael. Still, I said nothing. I've been so jealous of you, Claire, she whispered. Your life. Your stability. Your job. You're so smart, and funny, and people actually like you. I never had that. I just had my looks. And I've been terrified of losing that. Of becoming invisible. So I tried to take the one thing you had that I didn't, love. There it was. She said it. Finally. I'm sorry. Vanessa whispered. I am so sorry. And in that moment, standing in a hospital room with the woman who had broken me in slow motion for over a decade, I felt tired. Not angry. Not victorious. Just tired. I don't forgive you, I said, my voice flat. I don't know if I ever will. But I appreciate you finally admitting it. She nodded, sniffling. I turned to leave. Then paused. For what it's worth, I hope you get help. I really do. But I won't be part of your healing. Don't contact me. Don't contact Michael. Leave us alone. I walked out into the hallway and ran into Jessica. She hugged me so hard I thought my ribs cracked. I'm proud of you, she whispered. Then I asked, why now? Why did Vanessa suddenly grow a conscience? Jessica looked uncomfortable. Her therapist called her this morning. Apparently, the police reached out to verify something. Vanessa had scheduled an appointment to file the report against Michael. I went cold. Jessica nodded. The therapist talked her down. Told her it would ruin both of your lives. That it wasn't about Michael. It was about her. And she listened. She really was going to do it. Yeah. But she didn't. I didn't say anything. Just nodded. When I got home, I told Michael everything. He was quiet for a long time. So it's over, he said. I think so. Good, he replied, then grinned. Because I have something to ask you. I blinked. What? Move in with me. I laughed, caught totally off guard. Wait, what? Claire. I've spent 7 years in a cell. I don't want to waste time. I love you. I want you. I want this. So, move in with me. I stared at him. and then said the easiest word I've ever said in my life. Yes. We moved in together that March. Small apartment. Nothing fancy. But ours. We adopted a mutt from the shelter, Rocket. He's missing one ear and constantly tries to eat socks, but he's perfect. I didn't go to Easter. Didn't go to Mother's Day. Kept in touch with Jessica and my brother. The rest of the family? Radio silence. Until June. That's when Vanessa sent a letter. Handwritten. 10 pages long. And what was inside changed everything. The envelope had no return address, just my name in careful, slanted handwriting I hadn't seen since Vanessa signed my yearbook in 10th grade with, "Stay beautiful, even though you never try." I almost tossed it. But something stopped me. The letter was long. 10 pages. Written in blue ink, front and back, no smudges, no corrections. Just raw, unfiltered confessional. She wrote about being 12. About the family friend who molested her. About how she told her parents, and how they didn't believe her. How she started learning, young, that her body was currency. That beauty could be power when safety was never guaranteed. She wrote about therapy. About medication. About nights spent crying alone in her car because she didn't know who she was when no one was looking at her. She wrote about me. How she had hated me for being real. For having a life she couldn't fake. For being loved in a way she only knew how to manipulate. And how every time I brought a man around she had to steal him. Not because she wanted him. But because she needed to believe she could. And then she said the thing that stopped me cold. "I never made you feel invisible, Claire. I made myself feel visible by standing in your light." At the end of the letter, she'd enclosed a photo. An old one. Her and David, one of the boyfriends she'd taken from me, smiling at some party. On the back of the photo, she'd written, "I'm sorry. For this. For all of it." I showed the letter to Michael. He read the whole thing quietly, then set it down and asked, "What are you going to do?" I was honest. "I don't know." He nodded. "You don't owe her anything. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. She burned every bridge. You get to decide if she deserves another one." I thought about it for days. Then wrote back. A short letter. 1 page. I said I appreciated her honesty. That I was sorry for what she went through. But that I still needed distance. I told her maybe, one day we could have a real relationship. But not yet. She wrote back one final time. Said she understood. And then for a year and a half, nothing. Until last month. Jessica called. She said Vanessa was engaged. To a woman named Monica, whom she met in therapy group. They'd been together a year. Vanessa was, according to Jessica, calm. Different. Grounded in a way she'd never seen her. "She wants to invite you to the wedding," Jessica said. "But she's scared. She didn't want to put pressure on you." I told her I'd think about it. Michael and I talked that night. We were on the couch, Rocket snoring between us, both holding mugs of tea like we were 80 years old. I asked if he'd come with me if I decided to go. He said, "To watch you walk back into that house with your head held high. I wouldn't miss it." So I called Vanessa the next day. We talked for 2 hours. It was weird. Not emotional. Not hostile. Just honest. She told me about Monica, about how therapy was still hard but worth it, about how she was trying to be someone who could build instead of destroy. I told her about Michael. About our apartment. Our mutt who steals socks. Our current debate about getting a cat. He wants one. I keep saying no. We'll probably get one. At the end of the call she said, "If you don't come, I understand. But it would mean everything if you did." I said yes. The wedding's in 2 months. And I don't know how I'll feel seeing her walk down the aisle. I don't know how I'll feel standing in a room full of people who let her hurt me for years and called it family. I don't know if I'll cry. Or laugh. Or leave halfway through. But here's what I do know. I'm going to that wedding holding the hand of a man who saw all my broken pieces and never once flinched. A man who said, "I love you," before he said, "I can fix you." A man who looked Vanessa dead in the eye and said no. That's the thing about being invisible for so long. Once someone finally sees you, really sees you, you don't go back. You build a life that's yours. You adopt weird dogs. You drink tea like it's a personality trait. You get better. And if you're really lucky, you start to believe you were never broken in the first place. You were just waiting for the right person to see the whole picture. And stay. Forever.